Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we proudly present our spectacular show of podcast magic and imagination full of Disney wonder, news, and pop culture. It's the Main Street Electrical Podcast with Jenn Dave and David Dollar.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, Dave.
It's the Main Street Electrical Podcast. So melodic. So melodic. And so, welcome back to the Main Street Electrical Podcast. A very kind of slow news week. I guess the country's had a busy news week, so Disney was like, you know what? We're not going to drop everything on our agents right now. Just we'll have a little mercy here. I mean, obviously Thanksgiving is coming up. The big trip for everybody is coming up. Jollywood is coming up, and I'm excited. Christmas party is coming up. I'm excited. Christmas is coming. Christmas is like, I don't know, 35 days away. It's ridiculous. 40 days, whatever. It's insane. And then it'll be here, and then it'll be over, and it'll be January all of a sudden. So, Jen, how did you do Disney this week?
Oh, gosh. Okay. This week, I Disneyed by doing some additional plans for my New Year's trip. Because we're basically set for the agency trip coming up.
Theoretically.
Yeah.
Although you're not planning this trip, which is helpful for you.
I am not.
Because, this is not a fam. So, yeah, this is good for you.
It is. So I did that. I'm also using my Disney mug. My cute little, this is the Jared Mayuma. I don't know how to say his last name. Anyway, cute little Disney mug here.
Nice.
A couple years ago.
I, of course, like to do bigger Lego sets upon reaching goals for the year, and I reached another goal for myself, and so I have now started this little thing, which if you look at the camera, it looks like green and
dinosaur?
Brown. This is going to be the Lego indoor set. There are going to be trees here. There will be a speeder here with. I haven't opened all the bags yet but there is a figure here somewhere. You hear the rattling of the papers. Figure here somewhere. I have a Leia here with no head because her head's in a bag. But yes, that will go over. Leia. And also, because I do like to thrift, for media, and I have way too much media. If you're watching on YouTube, you see behind me CDs and DVDs and just everything, right? I finally found my copy of The Good Dinosaur, an underrated Pixar film. Now,
I've never seen that one.
A great film. It's a good film. And it's beautiful. Okay. This is what I like to describe as a beautiful disappointment. Like, it's kind of disappointing. You kind of want it to be better. But the movie, the imagery behind it is just gorgeous. $1 at the thrift store, by the way. You always have to make sure you check because this has both discs in it, because sometimes you get things from the thrift store and it only has one disc. This has both the DVD and the Blu-ray. So I'm very excited about that. So yeah, that will actually go on the shelf over there in my Pixar section, my Disney section. So all my Disney.
There's so much on the shelf.
There's so much going on behind me. It's so ridiculous.
Much going on.
It's one of my favorite things to do, and it's like whenever things get stressful or whatever, and I want to take a break or something. If I get any like new CD, well, I say new, like $1 CDs or whatever.
Yeah,
I like to put them where they belong in my alphabetical order shelf, and so I'll move things over like section, like one by whatever, and it's very therapeutic. It's very relaxing. It's just move this over, this goes in here, move it over. I got a Phil Collins CD the other day, so of course everything after COL had to go one space to
one space over.
I had to put Phil Collins in, and so.
I mean, Phil Collins, I approve of that. I approve of that purchase all day long.
It's the No Jacket Required album from like 1982.
Fantastic album. That's a great album.
But my favorite is But Seriously. But Seriously is amazing. His
that
live
is also
album,
amazing.
But Seriously is amazing. With something
I haven't heard the live version. I mean, I'm sure.
Do you remember? All those is just I love Phil Collins. Big Phil Collins fan.
I'm a huge exactly.
And of course, he sang the soundtrack to Tarzan. One of my favorites. Disney memes is where the caption is something like, "Hey Phil, we need you to write a few songs for Tarzan. Nothing special, just something fun and boppity." And then of course the picture is like this guy playing a flaming piano. How hard he's going because he just goes so hard on Tarzan.
I love like the trashing the can.
I love
Phil
that. Collins is great. Tarzan's great. But speaking of Disney movies, there's not a lot of Disney news going on, like I said. So it's just not a lot happening right now. So we're going to look at one of my favorite subjects, Disney movies. Now, I have not seen all 62 Disney films. There are 62 in the animated canon. Disney now is actually...
I would say, I think that between the two of us, I think we have seen them all.
Yes, I'm sure.
I
I'm
think
sure.
between the two of us.
And there will probably be some on this list that we're to talk about in a minute that I have not seen, that I won't tell you that I haven't seen, because I don't want you to go,
Because I'm going to make
oh,
fun of you. Is that why?
probably.
Okay,
But
probably.
as far as animation goes, just for the people who are nerds like myself,
Hmm.
there are four main branches of Disney movies, Disney animation, whatever.
Hmm.
There's the MCU, which they do some animation,
Yep.
Pixar, Star
Hmm.
Wars, and of course the Disney animated classics.
Classics.
Now you've got your live action, your natural treasures, and you've got
That's
your,
different.
your whatever. Those are different. Even Mary Poppins and Bedknobs and Broomsticks, those are also different. Still haven't
Those
seen
are
Bedknobs and
different.
Broomsticks. Getting there.
Whoa,
But I,
David.
I did watch Rescuers and Rescuers Down Under recently,
Okay,
though, so that
okay,
helps.
okay.
That
That
helps.
helps.
That helps.
Okay, that
But,
helps. Okay.
um, but overall, there are 62 films, and of course, Snow White was the very first one.
Yes.
Six sequels. Can you name how many of the sequels can you name?
Wait, sequels to Snow White or just sequels in
Sequels
general?
to all the Disney animated, not the ones coming up. Of course, we know
Lion
Frozen
King
3.
one and a
Yep.
half.
No. We're talking animated classics, not the DVD stuff, not the extra stuff, whatever. But
Oh,
the
you mean
actual sequels to movies. Yep.
that are considered in the 62?
Yep. There are
So is
six.
Frozen 2 called is
Frozen 2 is one of them.
2 is one of them.
Yep.
Oh wait, are we counting future releases or no?
No, not future releases, because we know
The
that Frozen
things
3, Zootopia, and Moana 2 are coming up. We know those are
Okay,
coming.
and those are all going to be classics.
Yep, those will all be counted in the
Oh,
canon. Yep.
Rescuers Down Under.
Rescuers Down Under, that's 2.
Yeah, that would have been okay.
This is not to put you on the spot, because some of these are very difficult to
No, some
remember.
of them would be, but no, but I want to, I want to think for a second because I feel like the Three Caballeros. Would there be
Oh, very good. Yes, good catch. Yep,
okay,
that's 3.
Fantasia?
That's 4. Oh, I think
Okay.
you can name the last 2. There's one pretty obvious one.
There's
from recent years.
I'm trying. I'm sorry. I'm trying to go through
It's okay.
my no. There's one you're gonna say it. I'm gonna be like, oh yeah.
Yep.
Um,
There's one very obvious one and one not nearly as obvious. And so the one not nearly obvious
yeah.
is
What's
Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh,
Oh,
which is a sequel to Many
okay.
Adventures
But
of Winnie the
I
Pooh.
would have, I can see that. I do, but I
Okay.
forget that one is actually considered one of the classics. I do
And the
forget that.
one you're going to
What's the other
facepalm
one?
over, Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay.
But
But again, but that falls into that category of things where I haven't seen all the ones from that era.
right.
So I don't
Right.
automatically think of, but I did pretty good. Come on, I
You
got
did good.
obscure-
You
I
did good. I was
good.
not expecting to get Three Caballeros, which is of course a sequel to Saludos Amigos, and so
Yes.
that's really impressive. So yeah, and I mean just to nerd out a little bit, of course, the first movie to feature the castle and the Walt Disney Pictures logo, which is funny because you and I have been watching these movies
Oh
all of
yeah.
our lives,
All of
and
our
so
lives.
we're so just used to just seeing the castle and the tune and whatever, and
but it wouldn't even have existed for the first
exactly
40 years.
First film to use the castle and the logo was the Black Cauldron, like in the 80s.
Oh my gosh, which as we've discussed,
right?
we have discussed this film.
Yep.
Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
yeah, and we'll get to that a little bit later on. That's one of the eras. The first film to use the Walt Disney Animation Studios, which again, you think that's been on everything, and it hasn't.
Yeah, but I
was
guess
Meet
not.
Robinsons in like 2008. So
shoot,
that's actually
okay.
a fairly recent logo.
Wow.
Of course, Winnie the Pooh was the final feature to use hand-drawn animation, pretty much only. Everything else after
which I
that was
do
at
miss.
least some computering leading up to more.
Yeah,
of it.
but I do
And-
miss the hand-drawn animation. It was so amazing.
I do too, and I
really
like how
great.
they do some of that in what, but I guess
Yeah.
the efficiency part of it is just computers.
I get
That's
it.
just the way
I
it is.
get
And
it.
I get it as well. And so, for advertising purposes, the Walt Disney Company started attaching numbers to the films in the late '80s, and that way they could say this is Disney's 52nd full-length animated film, or Disney's
Sure.
61st, or whatever. And of course, they went back and added those to the previous
To the
films as well.
original ones, yeah.
Exactly. And the numbering system goes on today as well, including Oliver and Company and Tangled, whatever.
Yeah.
Now some of them don't include Dinosaur, but Dinosaur is not the Good Dinosaur, but actually Dinosaur.
Oh,
2000, very forgotten
Dinosaur.
film,
Yep.
in the post-Renaissance era. So we're gonna dive in here real quick.
Yeah.
What I want to do is we're gonna go era by era. We're gonna talk about the early
Okay.
days, and you and we're gonna name our favorite movie from the era, and maybe
As long as you remind me which
favorite.
films go in which
we're
era
gonna do
they
that.
were.
Of course, we'll talk about each one. Of course, 1937
Yeah.
through 42 is the golden age. This is when it started. And honestly, it says golden age, like, wow, this is the golden age of filmmaking. These films, besides Snow White, weren't that successful. They
No,
really
not
weren't.
that I do remember from Disney
Yeah.
history. Is like, I mean, Snow White was, but the rest of them really
After
were
that,
kind of a flop at first.
it was like Cinderella that actually brought Disney
Yes,
animation back in
yes.
terms of money. But Snow White actually started the golden age.
Yeah.
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs,
Hmm.
Pinocchio,
Hmm.
Fantasia, Dumbo, and Bambi. So those are the five
Yeah.
that are considered in the part of the golden age. Now they're wholesome, they're upbeat. Of course,
Hmm.
they've all got like a little dark turn to them as well. And some
Oh
of the
yeah.
scenes that I mean, all these movies have like scenes now that you might not want to show your 3-year-old. Like Bambi's mom
Meanwhile, I
getting
was
shot
watching them
and-
when I was
Right? Dumbo's got some very racially charged language in it and everything. It's not too bad, but you got the birds,
the birds, the crows.
elephants, yeah, the birds, the crows, whatever.
Mhm.
Pinocchio and the whole Pleasure Island thing is crazy.
Oh,
You know, and-
that one is like, what?
right? That's a bizarre movie. It really is.
Watched it like, and my parents like knew I was watching it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, it's fine."
Oh,
Like,
same. And it's bizarre.
which,
And
I
of course,
mean,
there's
some
a
of those
thousand
things
Pinocchios,
go over kids' heads. Which I mean, literally, that is one thing with Disney, and especially the humor that
Mhm.
it goes over certain things like adults will pick up on. But I mean, it's not like bad. But I'm thinking like like Bulba, not in front of the kids. It's like
Right? Of course.
it's like, but parents get it.
So also the nickname for this golden age is also the tar and sugar era, because each of these films have these moments where it's very serious and dramatic, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden it's funny, and then it's very serious and crazy, and then it's funny, and it's like
Oh,
just
how
back and
funny.
forth,
Okay.
back and forth. This era also includes the first and only time that moms, hide your kids, that breasts were openly shown in a Disney film, found in Fantasia.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mhm.
Tastefully drawn, by the way.
Tastefully drawn, but yes. Uh-huh.
And the Golden Age was a very important era of filmmaking because it was Snow White was the first one with the fairy tale movie that Disney is based on.
Mhm.
Pinocchio started the concept of taking literature, like an old school, story, or whatever, turning into something.
Fairy tale. Mhm.
Bambi, you got your mom dying, a parent dying, which happens, and so
Which happens throughout a lot of Disney canon.
happens throughout a lot of them. So Golden Era, those five, which is the favorite of the five? Snow White, Pinocchio, Fantasia, Dumbo, Bambi.
That's okay. Like that's tough. And my answer probably would have changed depending on which era of life I was in. I mean, I've got to go with Snow White, the OG,
Right?
Like because obviously, Princess. I loved that movie. I watched it growing up quite a bit. If I'm gonna pick a runner up of those to watch, I also loved watching Dumbo.
Dumbo's good. Fantasia is my favorite of these five. I love Fantasia.
As an adult, that would be
yes,
a
as an
different
adult.
call
Well,
for
I
me.
remember getting the clamshell when I was in college when it first came out. This is like
Yeah.
96, 97, something like that.
Mhm.
And me and my friends would turn the lights off and put it on, and like just we didn't do drugs or anything, but I'd heard that if you did, it would just wash all over you. And I say
Probably
that
would.
seriously, I'd never experienced any of that, but
Yeah.
just color and sound and just how cool it was and everything. I'm not a fan of Pinocchio. I'm not a fan of Snow White at all. Like I can't handle
That's
the
okay.
singing. It's such a historical film though. I can't be like, this movie sucks.
Well,
it doesn't. It's a great movie. It's not for me.
You
But-
also have to like, if as a vocalist, you have to know like, so she was like a pretty famous singer of the day, and she
of the
still
age, correct.
of the age, and that was the
Mhm.
sound of the age.
Yes.
And she had to sound like a little girl, which she
Yes.
did because Snow White is a little girl. So there's like some of that makes me nerd out as a musician. But I agree with you in terms of like as an adult watching Fantasia, there are things that I love. Like I love the dancing hippo. I love.
Yep.
Oh
I
my
love the
gosh.
Chernabog.
The-
I think the Chernabog is
that
amazing.
that is the pinnacle of the Fantasia. I think that
Yes.
animation right there is
And
just
it's really was
Night on
my
Bald Mountain.
first, because I came from small town Alabama, so we didn't talk symphony. It's really my first real dive into some of the symphonic works. Of some of these
into the
artists. And hearing some of this music, I'm like, I've heard that before. And so it's how great it is. And I love Fantasia because Walt loved it so much, and he wanted that to be something that it could be added to and changed. And
Absolutely.
every 5 or 10 or 20 years, another Fantasia would come out with new segments, or whatever. Of course,
Right.
we didn't see that for many years
Which
later, but
we'll
get
talk.
there.
We'll get there.
So, do you have a least favorite of these five?
Pinocchio is probably, although I love Jiminy Cricket,
Mm-hmm.
Pinocchio is probably my least favorite of those five. Just with the storyline, it's not that I didn't like it; it's that
Yeah, I get you. It's not one you'd go back to over and over and over. So
it's not an over and over again thing. Although I do
Right.
love Jiminy Cricket, and obviously I love the song "When You Wish Upon a
Yes,
Star." But
of course, that's like the
know,
mainstay. That's one of those like foundational parts.
like
of
I
Disney
love
World.
that song to this day. Makes me cry. Like
All right, so jumping over now to 43 through 49, which is the wartime
Yes.
era, and this is the era whenever the world is at war. World
Yes,
War II.
literally.
Not only that, the animators were having problems. Of course, the
Hmm.
animators said there was a strike, so a lot of them
Yep.
left. So we're talking lower budgets, smaller teams of animators, and so
Yeah.
this is also called the package era. So these are 6 films that each have at least 2, if not 3 and 4, like small films put together.
Yeah.
Saludos Amigos, Three
Yes.
Caballeros,
Hmm.
Make Mine Music, Melody Time, Fun
Hmm.
and Fancy Free, and Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
Oh,
I will be honest with you, there is not a single one of these films that I don't like. I like
I know.
I go from like to love on every one of these movies.
Yes.
I
You
probably would
don't.
say Ichabod and Mr. Toad is my favorite of these because that's the Sleepy Hollow
Hmm.
story, and of course Mr. Toad, which again a wild story. That animation
Crazy.
is brilliant and beautiful.
Bananas. It's
So,
so good. Uh, Make Mine Music.
mhm,
I mean, again, same. It's don't ask me to pick a least favorite because I love all of
right.
them. Okay.
Well,
But yeah,
I
I
was gonna say
love
I'm
Make
looking
Mine
here to
Music.
find out what the films that are in the segments that are in Make My Music.
There's
The
a
Mark
John.
the
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No. So Johnny Fedora and Alice Bluebonnet.
Yes, this is
Johnny
okay. So
Fedora.
we've got the Martins and the Coys, which is
Yeah.
the popular radio group. The Kingsmen sings a story of the Hatfield
Mhm.
McCoy style feud in the mountains.
Mhm.
Blue Bayou, which was an
Yeah.
originally intended for Fantasia, but now it's put in here
Mhm.
using Claire de Lune. All the Cats Join In, which was one of 2 sections in
Mhm.
which the Benny Goodman Orchestra contributed. A scene with hip cat teens of the 40s being
Yeah.
swept away by popular music. Without You is a ballad of lost love sung by Andy Russell. Casey
Mhm.
at the bat. We all know Casey Mudjo,
Oh,
Casey's Corner.
yes. Oh
Gave
my
us corn dog
gosh.
nuggets. Thank you. 2 Silhouettes, which is rotoscoped live action ballet dancers.
Oh, I forgot about that one. Yes.
Peter and the Wolf,
Oh,
a
I
musical
forgot about
composition,
that one.
a
So.
dramatization of the musical composition. After You've Gone, which is the other Benny Goodman and the Goodman
Hmm.
Orchestra Quartet, which is really their anthropomorphized instruments. I can't say that word. They're instruments who have come to life and they're
Yes.
parading through a musical parade,
Yes.
background, whatever. Johnny Fedora and Alice Bluebonnet, Hats Who Fall in Love.
Yep.
And the final is The Whale Who Wanted to Sing at the Met. And you'll see a
Oh, I
lot
love
of
him.
these. You'll
Yes.
see a
He's
lot
singing.
of these at Mickey's PhilharMagic.
Yes.
And so that's those. Melody
So
Time.
good.
Let me look up Melody
Another
Time.
great one. I love
Mhm.
Melody Time as well. So good.
So Melody Time includes Once Upon a Winter Time. It's a segment featuring Francis Langford singing the title song about 2 romantic young lovers on a winter's day in December
Hmm.
of the 19th century, Jenny and Joe. Bumble Boogie, which is a battle for the solitary bumblebee as he tries to ward off a visual and musical
Yeah.
frenzy. Legend of Johnny Appleseed, which is a very
Oh,
famous
yeah.
tune.
Good one.
Little Toot. It's a small tugboat in New York
Forgot about
City
that
who
one.
wanted to be just like his father, Big Toot. I
Hmm.
Have a Son. Little Toot means something completely different than this. Um, Trees, which is a recitation of the 1913 poem Trees by Joyce Kilmer.
Hmm.
Blame It on the Samba. Donald Duck and Jose de Carico meet the
Yes.
Accordion bird who
Carioca.
introduces them to samba. That's right. And Pecos Bill. We all know about Pecos Bill. So
Oh,
Pecos
yes.
Bill is in this. And then,
And
of course, we've got Fun and Fancy Free. Let me look this up real
oh
quick.
yeah. But what I remember is like the Disney Channel, and as a kid, my parents paid for the Disney Channel because whatever, like they knew if I was watching TV, I was on
Mhm.
PBS or the Disney Channel, it was going to be something, kid appropriate, whatever. They
Right,
weren't really
right,
worried about it. And I remember they would just like play those snippets. So it wouldn't be like all of Melody Time, right? It
right.
would be a segment of like a short. So that's where I remember so many of these. It's not that I watched it obviously I didn't watch it in the theater. I wasn't alive in the
Right.
40s.
Of course
I
not.
remember these like so much.
Well, and so the other one, and I honestly, I don't, I've seen a lot of these segments, and maybe like you,
Yeah.
like individually here and there. I don't know that I've watched them front to back, like this segment all the way to that segment.
Right, all the way to that
And I've got
segment.
the
Yeah.
DVDs over there, but some of these are hard to find now. So if you
I
guys out
actually
there,
own Make Mine Music. I
I was
own
gonna
that
say,
one.
if you own the clamshell or the VHS tape or the
Mhm.
DVD or even the Blu-ray, hold on to it because it is
Yeah, it's
hard
hard
to
to
find.
find. It is hard to find.
Fun and Fancy Free is the other one. It's 2 stories. Bongo the Little Bear. And this actually
Oh,
has Jiminy
yes.
Cricket inside at
Hmm.
the very beginning of it. He stumbles upon a teddy bear and a record player, one of which is Bongo, and it's kind of
Yeah.
the musical romance story narrated by Dinah Shore. And
Yeah.
so this also features Mickey and the Beanstalk with Mickey and Donald and Goofy. So so that's this story here. And of course, we know that Saludos Amigos and Three Caballeros features, Jose Carrico and Donald Duck and what's his name? The other guy. I can't think of his name.
Panchito.
So, Panchito, yes, Panchito.
Panchito.
Which I think a lot of those two movies are really just Walt Disney's love of overseas, of Brazil.
Yeah.
He went through a South America tour where he international tour, peacemaking tour, whatever. So there's all those. So so that is the wintertime, a wartime era. Did you mention your favorite out of these? I think Ichabod was my favorite, but
Ichabod was your favorite. I mean, if I'm gonna, that one is actually very difficult for me to pick. It would either be, it's a tie between Ichabod and probably Make Mine Music because
Make Mine Music.
I really enjoyed a lot of those shorts. So it's tough though. I love them all.
So now we move up to the Silver Age. The war is over. The animators have come home, and Walt Disney Studios is beginning to hit his stride. Now, this is the Silver Age, and basically the 50 through 59. So it's the entire 50s. There are 8 films in this segment. Also known as the Restoration Age because it's Disney's restoration to making big budget films. And when I mention these things, when I mention these films, you're going to get this, but a lot of them have soft colors, very beautifully drawn animation. Like Sleeping Beauty is designed to look like a painting. And so they have that style of animation. So we're looking at Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland, Peter Pan, Lady and the Tramp, Sleeping Beauty, 101 Dalmatians, Sword in the Stone, and Jungle Book. Bangers all the way through.
I mean, just like there's not a bad one amongst it.
No.
Like, I mean, weirdest is Alice in Wonderland because, as we know, Lewis Carroll was on cocaine.
Right. Oh, yeah. Alice is a strange film.
I mean, but like you guys are laughing, but no, actually he was. So,
yeah, of course. Actually, I believe you.
That actually probably explains a lot of Alice in Wonderland. But it's beautifully drawn. I mean, the characters are iconic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's all of them are great. So Jungle Book, of course, this Jungle Book, we know it's the last one that Walt Disney actually worked on personally. So there is some definitely sadness to that. But these are all like just almost like foundational animated classics because the stories they pull from and everything. It's this trend, it's fairy tale storytelling with Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, and Sword in the Stone. Of course, Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland, coming from tales and literature. Lady and the Tramp, Dalmatians, and Jungle Book is kind of the perspective of the animals kind of thing, which, Disney, you think about
anthropomorphized.
Exactly.
Animals.
There weren't a lot of animal perspectives until these movies.
Right.
Critics did not care for a lot of these movies at the time.
It's true.
But they're all audience favorites. People love these. And if I'm looking at all 8 of these, I think I love Dalmatians. I do. It's just a personal favorite. I love Dalmatians, Cruella de Vil, and all that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if I can even pick. I literally love all of these. Like, how do you not pick Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty? But at the same time, I watched you said Robin Hood, right? Was that in?
No. Robin Hood's not yet.
No. Okay. Yeah. Lady and the Tramp, I watched so much. 100 Dalmatians, loved that. I love the music. I love all of that styling. I loved Peter. I mean, these were all on repeat at my house. So I don't know that I can actually pick. Like, they're so good, all of them.
What's crazy though is that, and I said through 59, it's actually through 69 because I think Jungle Book was 67, I believe. What's crazy is like these are all hand-drawn animations, so they all came out within like a couple of years of each other.
They were like crazy
because there were times when it was taking 2 and 3 and 4 years for a movie to come out because you're having to draw everything. Now there is a lot of, and people kind of go back to this where you'll see the same patterns are used for different movies where you have the characters moving the same way and dancing the same way. A lot of that was cost efficiency because they didn't have the resources or funds, especially after Walt died, which we'll get to in just a second. He passed away in 67. So which leads us to the Bronze Age. And this is the era after Walt passed away, also called the modern era. Disney kind of went into somewhat of a decline here. Now, there are some really strong films here, and there are some kind of like, and actually I'm thinking of one in particular, but
I'm thinking of the same one.
These are not critics' favorites, but audiences, and maybe even at the time they weren't successful at the box office, but over time the audiences have fallen in love with these movies. That is the Aristocats, Robin Hood, Winnie the Pooh, the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. The Rescuers, The Fox and the Hound, The Black Cauldron, The Great Mouse Detective, and Oliver and Company. Those are all included in this.
There's some good ones.
All of these, except for Black Cauldron, have animals right in the front as the main stars of these movies. This is also the shift from hand-drawn films to what's called xerography, where not only were they hand drawing, but they were also basically copying cells. Again, back to that whole like
Right.
they're dancing in Robin Hood, they're
Efficiency.
dancing in the Jungle Book, kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
You also will notice in the animation, a lot of the heavy black lines are in the animation because of the scratchy way they were drawn. And if you watch them, you'll see kind of the black is really black, and like the trees are black and they're thicker, and
Yes.
the lines in the streets are thicker, because this just saved money.
Hmm.
Again, there was a time, and this is when Michael Eisner was coming in as well. Michael
Yeah.
Eisner came in around 84-ish, 83-ish, 84-ish. Black Cauldron was already in production, but the animated studio was in real trouble. They actually
Hmm.
fought off a hostile takeover of the Disney company in the early 80s because the
Wow.
company was going to come in and basically just break the company down and sell it off for parts. So there would be no Disney, and like they would have sold the theme park to another company, and who knows? That's an entirely sliding doors scenario I don't even
Right.
want to think about. The
I don't want to think
multiverse.
about that. Yeah, no.
But Eisner came in, Black Cauldron basically bombed, and
As it
Eisner was
should
like,
have, to be
and
fair.
Eisner put Roy Disney in charge of Roy Disney's nephew, in charge
Yeah.
of animation. Katzenberg came in and everything, and that's of course when they started talking about Mermaid and things like that, which that's the
Which we'll
next
get
era of
to.
it we'll get to.
Right,
But
exactly.
my favorite of these, honestly, if I'm looking, I love Robin Hood. Robin Hood is one of my favorite
Same.
films
It's
all the way
so
around.
good.
We've There's actually an entire episode where we talk about, but we don't talk about it for the entire episode, but Jen and I talk about the Black Cauldron. We
Because
both
yeah, we
saw
watched
it
it.
around the same week, and
We
it's
made a pact to watch it, is what
right.
we
Yes,
did. We
we
were like,
did.
okay, we're both gonna watch this.
It's one of those like I appreciate the effort, and it's a really well drawn movie,
It is
but
well
it's just
drawn.
odd. It's one of those things. Yeah, it's
The
not for
story
me.
didn't hang
It's not for
together.
me.
I didn't
No.
understand why there was a battle or what. I was like, what? Why is this even happening? And then like it made zero sense. And
Right.
again, I had questions, but Robin Hood, amazing. Loved it. And honestly, Oliver and Company, my sister and I loved Oliver and Company when it came out. We had
Right.
all the little figurines from McDonald's.
Yeah, of course. And this is honestly when the
Yeah, like
Oliver Company is kind of when the marketing stuff started happening, because early
yeah,
80s, you didn't have a lot of you had some toys
some
from
toys.
McDonald's, whatever, that would do with movies and stuff, but not,
Yeah.
you didn't go to Happy Meals to get your Black Cauldron toys. Oliver and Company, they started the deal, and of course the toys started coming out, whatever. But I do love the Aristocats, though. That was probably one of my first favorite Disney films when I started watching Disney movies as a teenager and in college. I do love the Aristocats, and the soundtrack of the
Mhm.
Aristocats is phenomenal.
Oh,
Um,
I love that sound. And it's a great, I do enjoy the Aristocats too. That would probably be like my other, like those are like my top three, like
oh yeah.
Aristocats, Oliver and Company, and my favorite being Robin Hood.
So
So
here we go. The Disney Renaissance, 89 through 99. This is what people still, and I think for myself too, the absolute peak
oh
in
yeah,
Disney animation. It's
100%.
almost like living through 2010, 2019 with the Marvel movies. You
Yeah.
don't really understand and appreciate where you are in moviedom until you're in it, until after it's over.
And
We
you're
all
like,
look
oh
back
my
in the 90s
gosh.
going, wow. Because
Yeah.
we got The Little Mermaid, The Rescuers Down Under, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion
Wow.
King, Pocahontas and Hunchback, yeah, Hercules, Mulan, Tarzan, 10. I mean, honestly, for me, take out Pocahontas and
Uh,
Hunchback, but that's 8 absolute like holy
But
crap.
even, and
Mhm.
I know Pocahontas isn't your favorite, but
Right.
I actually really enjoyed Pocahontas and I
Mhm.
loved the music from it and I thought the animation was beautiful. So, is it my
Yep.
favorite of all of them? No, but I still appreciate it. Hunchback, love the music, very dark story.
Yep.
I
Oh
think
yeah,
that was
yeah.
a little,
I need to
but
rewatch that. I don't want to rewatch Pocahontas, but I need to rewatch it. But this is also
Mhm.
when Howard Ashman and Alan Menken came
Oh,
in and gave
yes.
us the
Mm.
Beauty and the Beast music and the Aladdin music and the Little
Hmm.
Mermaid music and stuff. Of course, Elton John came on for Lion King, and this is when they kind of started working on with celebrities and musicians,
Celebs,
whatever, to
yeah.
come in for some of their movies and stuff. Just animation is great. Also, Pixar kicked off around 95
Yeah,
with Toy Story. So you're starting to see
right.
some kind of not only a rivalry, but also like, okay, well, they're doing this great, so we're going to borrow from that. They're doing this great, we're going to borrow from that. And so,
Hmm.
kind of some
Yeah,
melding of the styles there.
absolutely.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast, one of my 30 favorite
Yeah.
films of all time. I
It's so
love Beauty and the
amazing.
Beast, but I do love me some Hercules. It is one of the most dated, except and yet fantastic
So
films ever.
dated.
It's so
But
dated.
I'm
It's so
not
good.
mad about it.
No, not
Like
at all.
when
Not at
I'm
all.
not mad about it because
That's part
it
of
was
its
just
charm.
exactly.
Part of its charm.
Yeah, part of its
So,
charm. Absolutely. All of those just winners winners. And
So
Lion King to this day can bring me to tears. To this
Lion King
day.
is, I mean, it's such a simple movie, but it's one of those, if I step back and go, I can pick this movie apart because a lot of things don't make sense.
It
But
doesn't
that's
matter.
the quality of such a good movie is that you don't have to worry about
You
making
don't
sense.
care.
It's
Yeah.
like Independence Day. It's so ludicrous.
It's so good, but it's so
feels
good.
so good. It doesn't matter.
Like, I don't care.
And then we move over to kind of a step down, the post Renaissance era, 2000 to 2009. And
This is where I'm like,
there were
oh,
11 movies in this, and this is when they were
holy
kind of just
crap.
like banging them out, and almost like
Yeah.
okay, slow down here. Come on, slow down. A lot of these again were not doing well. This is also around this time is when we started getting the Lord of the Rings, the Harry Potter movies. This is when audience
I
was
love
looking
Lord
at
of
the
the
big
Rings.
blockbusters and stuff.
Mhm.
We have
Yeah.
and this is in no particular order, but we have Fantasia 2000,
Mhm.
Dinosaur, The Emperor's New Groove,
Mhm.
Atlantis: The Lost Empire, Lilo and Stitch, Treasure Planet, Brother Bear, Home on the Range, Chicken Little, Meet the Robinsons, and Bolt. So I mean, I don't expect you to
Yeah.
remember all of those, but I will
Yeah.
say, I love Bolt. I love Meet the Robinsons, and of course, we all love Emperor's New Groove. And
Mhm.
Lilo and Stitch is probably the all-star of this one because they gave us Stitch. If there's a
Never
couple
seen
that I think they want to forget about, it's Home on the Range because nobody talks about Home on the Range. Um, like it's not good,
I didn't see
but
it.
I will say, well, I think you should. It's not a great movie, but it's not a terrible movie by any means.
Yeah,
It's some
we've
cows,
talked about doing a series where we fill in the
Yep.
gaps on the ones that we haven't
Right.
seen, and then we kind of do a deep dive, which I'm down for, but
Mhm.
I'm not looking forward to that one. I'm not gonna lie. Of those, my favorite is Fantasia 2000.
I love Fantasia 2000.
I love Fantasia 2000.
And what's funny is, and I don't remember exactly the specifics, but I believe it was Michael Eisner who wanted the pomp and circumstance segment in
I think
there.
it was.
He demanded it.
I
Like
think
the
he
animators
did.
didn't want to do it. They were like, we don't want to do this. And so they came up with a really crass nickname for him, and they made fun of him behind his back because he wanted it. And the animators hated doing that segment because they were like, it breaks up the flow, and you have this wonderful movie with this
Mhm.
music, whatever. And then you got Donald Duck playing Noah. Really? I mean, it is kind of out of place, but
It is very out of
I love
place.
it anyway.
That is maybe the one in there that I'm like, well, I mean, okay. But I don't know. I just loved Fantasia 2000. I thought it was great. And I did, to be fair, also Emperor's New Groove is up there.
Mhm.
Fantastic cast. Mare, of course, that is her
That's her jam. That's her jam.
That's her jam. I enjoyed, and I think I watched that. I watched Treasure Planet and I watched Atlantis, and I mean, I
Yep.
enjoyed them. They
I've
were
never seen Treasure
fine.
Planet. That's one of them I've never
Oh,
seen. I've just
I
never
did
gotten around to
watch
seeing
it.
it.
And you know what? It was like, I wasn't mad about it. I don't need to see it
Mhm.
again, but it was like, oh, well, that was good. That was fine. That was entertaining.
I've also never seen Brother Bear.
I never
It
have either.
just, it's one of
Same.
those, but I love Bolt. And it's one of those that, like
Bolt was good.
Bolt is a convenient film for Disney because whenever
Yeah.
they need dogs, they bring Bolt out. Whenever they have a dog
Yeah.
thing going on or
Yeah.
extra characters, they bring Bolt out. And I will say this, I do appreciate the fact that during that Once Upon a Studio that came out last year, the
Mhm.
Disney short film, they had the Home and the Rage cows in there.
They
Because
did.
Luisa from Encanto was holding them up. And
Yep.
of course they had Bolt in there, Mittens, which was great.
Yeah.
So this is a very odd era.
It was an odd era.
Again, Dinosaur was the first attempt at CGI. It kind of got them interested in CGI as well, so they've kind of used that elsewhere.
Sure.
But there are several films now that are in what's called the revival era, 2010
Yes.
to the present day. And I think we're kind of in that inflection point where there's going to have to be a break in eras because
There's
we
gonna
can't
be.
just keep adding films to the revival era.
Correct.
John Lasseter took over animation in 2006, and of course Disney purchased Pixar around that time as
Yes.
well. And so now they had two studios that weren't just rivals, but they were like working together. And I feel like Princess and the Frog was kind of the return to like, we're doing a fairy tale, we're
Yeah.
doing a story, we're making this. That and Tangled back to back were like
Yeah.
1-2 punch, slam dunk, awesome.
Right.
Fantastic. Winnie the Pooh came out right after that. And then we had Wreck-It
Yeah.
Ralph. And then, of course, a little film called Frozen. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's an independent film.
Oh, interesting.
Very
No,
quiet.
yeah.
Frozen, Big Hero 6, but also included in this era as well. Zootopia, Moana, Ralph Breaks the Internet, Frozen 2, Encanto, Raya and the Last Dragon, Strange World, and Wish. And I have some theories on some of this. And so
I think I know where they're going to break it, actually.
Honestly, I think they need to break it at Encanto.
It's Encanto. Yep.
Yes, I think Frozen 2 needs to be the final movie of the revival era because
Agreed.
Encanto comes out after COVID.
Yep.
after the streaming era, because
Mhm.
I don't know if we call this, I'm going to call it the streaming era, honestly,
Yeah.
because this is when Disney Plus comes into view. And
Hmm.
remember, even of course, the big thing about Pixar is they were coming in directly to Pixar or directly to Disney Plus without
Yeah.
going to the theater. But there was also this whole thing where some of them, I want to say, was it Raya? I know Black Widow had this, but a few other movies too, where you could purchase the movie the same day it was
The
released to
same day it was,
theaters.
yep.
And of
Hmm.
course, there was a big kerfuffle about that. And now
That was
movies
the
are
whole
coming out streaming, like
problem.
whatever. And there was a whole thing on that.
Yeah.
So I really kind of feel like we're in the streaming era. But let's run back here to my favorite of this era. And you know what? I'm going to cut it at Frozen 2. So we'll talk about Encanto, Raya, Strange World, Wish. We'll talk about those
Okay.
for in a minute. Just
Talk
put those
about,
off to
yeah.
the side. So right now it's Princess Frog, Tangled, Pooh, Ralph, Frozen, Big Hero 6, Zootopia, Moana, Ralph again,
Whew.
Frozen 2. I know a lot of them, and these are all strong. There's not a
They're all
weak movie
strong.
in this bunch.
There's not.
My
It's
least
all
favorite of
good.
these probably is Ralph Breaks the Internet. I don't like the way it ended. I just didn't.
That wasn't
But
my favorite franchise, but it's fine.
But
Like,
I love the original. I loved
the
break
original
that
was better.
how different it was from anything Disney had done. Because I feel like I was watching a Pixar film under the
Yeah.
Animation Studios moniker, which was crazy.
Right.
Winnie the Pooh has been a household favorite because my kid loves that movie. I have the
Sure.
soundtrack. It's so pleasant and so great. Tangled, Rapunzel's my favorite princess. I think she is amazing. I think that whole I love Tangled. Of course, we all know the
Yeah.
Frozen song. So really, this was the era of movies that just these movies hit the zeitgeist. These movies hit pop culture like no other
They did.
era had ever
Hardcore.
done. Because yes, Beauty and the Beast hit pop culture in the 90s, but there was no social media in the 90s. There was no email in
It's
the early
different
90s,
era.
none of that. Different era. So while some of that relates to now, like that's like post dating your pop
Yeah.
culture era. Whereas when Zootopia hits, when Moana hits, we've got the memes already. We've got the songs out there immediately. You can,
Yeah.
for Moana 2, I think you could already buy the soundtrack. It's already available
Yeah.
online, which you couldn't do that for Beauty and the Beast online, unless you ordered.
And
it through
I
Prodigy
love
or
the
something.
music from Moana. That was actually one that I was going into like, oh, it'll be fine. And I watched it on an airplane. And meanwhile, I'm like bawling by the end. I'm like, okay.
Oh, it's so good.
So
And it also
good.
it does this traditional animation thing, and they do CGI with traditional animation as well. But one thing about Moana is it really kind of started stepping out to this whole
Yeah.
like it's a prince who doesn't need a prince. Brave did this already with Merida.
Brave did that.
But
Yeah.
even in Merida, they tried to marry her off and she refused. In Moana, there's none of that. She is who she is.
Yeah.
Which I think is
But
is
I also
fantastic.
love Tangled, and I thought that they did a beautiful.
Yes.
In fact, I have pictures from back when there was the animation studio still in where Launch Bay is right now. Do you remember?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And I have pictures of the posters of the coming attractions, Princess and the Frog
Right.
and Rapunzel.
Rapunzel, because that's what
But
was the original name.
it says
Yep.
Rapunzel. And
Yep.
so, and then it like suddenly they changed it to Tangled. And I was
Mhm.
like, oh, okay. But I have pictures of the artwork. where
I
it was
think they
not
changed
that.
it because Rapunzel had such a princessy sounding name,
I
and they
think you're
wanted to
right.
kind of make it appeal a little bit more to boys.
Yes, which with Flynn Rider, like you
Yes.
had,
Yep.
more of that character in there.
Yep. So, honestly, I'm going to say that the streaming era includes Encanto, Raya, Strange World, and Wish. And Encanto
Yeah.
is by far and away the best one of these four at all.
I haven't seen any of them.
You've never seen Encanto? Seriously? Jen, you
I've not
would
seen
love Encanto. Like, I mean, you would probably cry through it. You would absolutely love
maybe.
Encanto. I think you'd like Raya. Again, she's like Merida and
Mhm.
Moana. I don't need no man. I can do my own thing, which is great. Strange Strange World is I understand what they were trying to do. I personally did not like it, but I also don't think it was a good movie. I know there's a whole controversy behind it, whatever, not to get into that. I just don't think it was a good story. I just don't. Wish, I also see what they were trying to do. I think they were trying too hard because it was supposed to be their big 100-year celebration for Disney. I think they just tried so hard.
I heard so many tepid reviews about Wish.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't really any music.
Mhm.
Like it was an okay story, but it wasn't great. So I was like, well, all right, if I see it, I see it. Encanto, I would watch. I mean, I would. Raya, I've thought about watching because I heard good things about it. But
you need to watch it. I feel like more than anything else on this list, more than anything you need to do right now, is you need to watch Encanto. It's an hour and a half, and the music is fantastic. The animation is beautiful. There's no real villain to the story. It's a straightforward story, which I don't know. Strange World is one of those. Whenever I watch Strange World in the theater, literally when there's one song when it was over, I messaged somebody. I was like, I just heard a song and I honestly cannot remember it. Like 30 seconds after the song was over, I don't remember what I just heard. I don't. Um,
Wow.
yeah, that's. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not a Strange World. Wish. That's what I meant. Was Wish.
Yeah.
But Raya is also good too. It's not a musical. It's just
Yeah.
it's a really cool story. I think it's great animation, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like Pixar's Soul. It was a casualty of the COVID era.
I'm
Whereas
sure.
Encanto got that
Because
boost
I thought
because
Soul was beautiful. That
yeah.
was a beautiful
Well,
film.
Encanto got that boost because Mirabelle is a princess and just there's a
Yeah.
whole lot for everybody to love. The music is so fantastic and Lin-Manuel Miranda, whatever.
Hmm.
Raya just kind of got lost in the shuffle and
Yeah.
so which is unfortunate. But there is our Disney eras. Of course, the golden era, the wartime era, the silver, the bronze, the Renaissance, the post-Renaissance, and the revival era. And I'm calling it the streaming era since 2021.
Yeah.
There are various places online where they will call these
Mhm.
different things. They will say, well, this movie actually belongs in this era and not that one. This is what I have down. I like to think of myself as the Aponostar, somewhat of an amateur Disney movie historian. So
Right.
so that's I love talking about this stuff, whatever. But we'll do a top 10 favorite Disney films at some point very soon.
Yeah.
We got to catch up on those. You got to see Encanto. You just got to. You really.
Okay.
I will make
All
it
right. All right.
between now and our whatever episode comes out early December. Make it a pledge. I will see Bed Down Some Broomsticks if you will watch Encanto.
All right. All right. I can do that. I can do
You can
that.
do that. You can
I
do
can
it.
do
You can
that.
make it happen. I believe in you.
Yeah.
So, all right, Jen, where can we find you in all the places? You're not leaving again until December, right? Or do you have
I'm
another
I'm
trip
not
planned?
leaving
Okay.
again until December. No.
Look at
So
that.
you can
Fancy.
find me at Upon a Star Jen, or my personal Instagram is Jen_Novotny.
Perfect. Find me at the Magic on a Dollar on Instagram and find me at Magic on a Dollar and Disney on a Dollar on Facebook as well. And of course, I have another podcast called the Deucecast Movie Show, which is a movie show that comes out every Wednesday as well. So be sure to tune into that. And of course, you do have Divas Dish Diz, which it records occasionally.
We're recording tomorrow.
Oh,
We're
good. I was going to say,
tomorrow.
have you decided to sunset that podcast, or is it actually still a thing? Which I hope
We're recording tomorrow.
Awesome.
So.
Fantastic. Can't wait to hear all about that.
Yeah.
So, I can't listen. So for Jen, I'm Dave. And hey, don't forget to thank your Phoenicians.
Thank you for listening to the Main Street Electrical Podcast. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the MSE Podcast, or visit our website at themsepodcast.com. Be sure to subscribe, and may all your wishes come true.